I love to make tags for special gifts any time of the year and also to give as gifts to my kids and friends. And in this video I am sharing tons of tags I made using some of my favorite products and dies. Hello and welcome to Karen's Creative Cards on YouTube. My name is Karen Hashik and I am so happy to share how I made all my holiday tags with you this year. My first batch were made with new clear designer toner sheets from Therm called Poinsettia, Christmas Tree, and Rustic Winter. So this is the Poinsettia, this is the Christmas Tree, and this is the Rustic Winter. The first time I cut pieces of the designer toner sheet and I put a piece of sparkly foil over it and I ran it through my Minc. I've used sparkly red, green, and silver on these. And the first time you run the clear designer toner sheet through the Minc, this is the look that you get. You get that sparkly foil on the pattern. And I made a couple tags like that. And then on the back they can say to from. And then if you run it through again with a Therm toner sheet, all the leftover foil, in this case green, goes on to the piece, and those pieces remain black. And then if you run it through again, this time the black pieces became silver. So I had lots of fun making these tags, and I will have a link in the description box that talks about these various techniques with the designer toner sheets. So there's some more. And I'll also have a blog post that I can link. I also used some pretty napkins to make some tags. This is one that I got from a friend, and this is a set that I bought with the pretty red flannel and greens. And I will share a link to a video where I showed how you can use a Minc machine to attach pretty napkins to cardstock. So I made these tags, and those are Quiet Fire Design dies, and these are Tim Holtz Sizzix dies. And again, I'll link a blog post where I describe that. I'm loving the new stitched tag dies from Little Inker. I am a huge fan of Little Inker, and I have most of their shaped stitched dies. I like them best because they have stitching on both the inside and the outside of their stitched dies. I also love shakers, so during their recent Black Friday sale I had to get their stitch tag and mitten shaker dies. And here are the shaker dies I made for gifts this year. So there's one. I like to use paper pads that have patterns on both sides that are all, so they all match. So I made some with the Echo Park paper 6x6 Celebrate Winter pad, and I also made some with Graphic 45 that is beautiful paper to use for that. And these first two were the Graphic 45, and then I also stamped inside Have a Merry Little Christmas, which is from Penny Black. And as you can see, these are all shaker tags. And then on the back you can write to from. There's another one I made with some fun sequins. This was made, and I put a sentiment inside. And I'll have a blog post with more specifics on what I used on each of those. And this is the tag that I'm going to make with you today. To cut these, I am using a new tag set from Lil Inker. It does include the super, but the part that I'm using is the tag shaker part. And I have cut a piece of acetate to 2 1/4 by 3 1/4. You'll want to then decide on which what paper you want to use for the front and the back. And I'm using some red cardstock weight paper from that Echo Park set, and some of the pretty, the background, the back, see how the back and the front kind of go together. I also, I'll get all the pieces out here. So I have cut the first piece for the front using the 2 dies to make the shaker front. And then I cut one more for the back, and what I found is easiest to do to get it to line up to make the shaker is to then trim that back piece off carefully right along the stitching. And I'm going to cut that top piece right off. This is on the back piece. And we are going to attach the acetate piece to the back of the front opening. And I've put skinny score tape all around the edge. And we're applying the acetate piece behind there. If there's any stickiness left from that score tape, I like to neutralize it with my EK Success powder tool, because we don't need anything attracting the shaker elements when you put them in. Let's put some of this out of the way. We can either stamp inside of this, or in this case I decided to put a die cut Noel on the front, and I like to put the two-sided score tape on the back of a piece like that, because you don't really want to use glue on the acetate. It would make it it could possibly make a mess on there. So this is a Noel with sticky tape on the back. And then we need to get a couple of those pieces out. I think I'll use a pokey for that. Okay, and the center of the O, and the center of the E. And then I'm going to attach that, it's already sticky, right across the top of the acetate. Now we're going to create a well for our shaker pieces, and what I like to use is the Motion Crafts skinny foam strips. Okay, so they're the perfect height, and they make it really easy. Before, I would take mounting tape, I would have to cut it in half, and then I would have to layer 2 together to make it tall enough. So this is way easier. So I will just take a strip and apply it along the edge. And then I'm going to cut off the excess, and I'm going to keep those pieces because you'll see on the next one I will use the smaller pieces to go around a curved opening. But in this case, it's these are straight. You don't want to have any openings between your foam strips because you don't want any of your beads or sequins to fall out. So you can see how easily that well was created. The top pieces seem to want to come off now, but that's fine. So then I will take my EK Success powder tool and I will apply it all around the edges and on the acetate again. And for this one, I'm going to use some Nuvo red carpet circles, which are basically confetti, red confetti. And I have gold beads from Recollections, and that's what I've chosen to make my shaker tag with. Now these like to come out very quickly, so I have to just remember to just tap, tap, tap. And I tend to overfill my shakers because they're so pretty, but that should be plenty. I'm a big fan of beads in shaker cards. I think they move so well and they're fun to use. Now this is the back, of course, and I'm going to carefully remove the covers from the sides. Trying not to get the beads and the confetti sticking to the sides. Let's see if we can get this one off. And then we're going to take this piece and cover up the foam strips and create the back with it. Press down. And there we have a fun shaker tag. I like to put an extra little tag on the inside, on the back, so you could write "to from" on it. And then I just take a cord and put it through and tie it. And our tag, shaker tag, is complete. You can also make mitten tags with a new die set that I just got from Lil Inker, and it is really cute, obviously, a mitten that I've made tags with. You can choose to say something inside like Merry Christmas, and then I put a little tag on the back as well with the smaller mitten die to say "to from." Here's another one that I made. And this is the one we're going to be making together here. But I also wanted to show, of course, that you can make cards with this cute mitten shaker. And in this case, I was talking about how they have stitching on the inside and the outside. So there's the stitching on the outside. So I put the mitten back into the negative space by cutting it. And Happy Holidays is from Tonic Studios. And I put another little cute mitten in the inside. So of course you can make a card with it, and then you can make these super cute tags. So I have used a stamp set from Gina K Designs, one of my favorites, and I'll have a link to that in the description box. This is the little Linker Mitten die set, and you get the pieces that I've used to die cut the front out with, which is cutting both of these together. And then this is the back that we're going to be creating a shaker with. And you also get this piece, which is, I think they're called that the cuff, and you actually need to cut this twice if you want to get that stitched look in there, which I think is really cute. And then I've cut another little mitten for the back, and I have my cord ready. So we also are going to cut the mitten out of acetate to cover that up and create. And what I like to do is I cut it with the acetate, but it doesn't cut entirely through, but that's fine because once again I'm going to trim this down and use that stitched line to trim out the perfect size of acetate for the back of the card. So I have again put skinny score tape on the back of this front, and I will attach the acetate with that. Now this tape doesn't have to be 100% around the edge, just enough to hold the acetate in place, but when you do put your foam strips down, that has to be totally touching each other with no gaps, especially when you use beads. And I really like to use beads, so I try to make sure that there are no openings when I create a shaker or a shaker tag. So this is the acetate, and we are going to apply that to the back of the tag. And because it is cut a little smaller, generally you're not going to have any pieces out on the outside, but I can see that I do have a little bit here I need to trim, which is not a problem. And once again, if you have any stickiness left after you do that, I like to neutralize it with my powder because I don't want any of the shaker elements to stick to that. So we're going to use our Motion Crafts skinny foam tape again. This one you're going to need to have smaller pieces because you've got a lot curvy edges. So I'll use some of these that I have already cut. And you're going to make sure there are no gaps. And then it does curve a little bit, but I find it easier just to take smaller pieces and go around the curves with those. This one looks about the right size to go in between those. And then we do need one piece towards the bottom so that they, the whole thing is the same height. And then I'm going to use powder again all around the acetate and the outside or inside edges of that foam tape. And I am going to use a little bit of the red carpet circles confetti from Nuvo, some of the prickly pear. They say it's glitter, but it's basically, the word's not coming to me right now. Sequins, that's what it is. And then I'm going to use some vintage glass glitter for the great movement. So once again, I am going to try to tap, tap, tap and not dump too much of this in here. That should be good for the red. I like to take a little spoon and put the glass glitter in with that. I almost forgot a step, but I'm glad I didn't. What I like to do is, I'm doing this upside down there, punch a little hole in the back that's going to be attached, and then put the this is going to be on this side, put the little mitten on the back and tie them together now. That's going to be where you say to from, and there's your message. And now we're going to attach that to the shaker. So once again, you want to go slowly when you're removing the top of the foam tape strips, so a lot of your glitter and everything doesn't get attached. Okay, my fingers are sticking, and I don't want to. Okay. Get the garbage out of the way, and now we're going to carefully attach the mitten back to the back of the shaker. Now I didn't trim this one down, so you do have to be careful to line it up. I think I did pretty good. I hope I did. So we have a, oops, wonder where the, oh there it is. I forgot to put my bottom of the mitten on, but I will do that. The shaker is working. This one says Merry Christmas. I really like this. I think it's a cuff that I created with the dies from Little Inker, so I do want to put them on, that on. And there you go. A Merry Christmas tag that can be attached to a present. I love all the tags that I have created, and I hope you do too. Thanks for watching, sharing, and subscribing, and for helping me share the joy of creativity.